Hi, everyone. Hi, Jana. Hi, Magda. Well, let's wait a little bit if someone else is gonna join.
Laura, I have a question. Is that all of artists are now here, or I missed something? There will be a second room.
No, they are all here.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Because there is no Artyom and Sergey, and I don't know.
You
why.
mean like the no. For the presentation, not everyone replied the email, so
Okay.
I added just 8 persons who were the ones who answered the
Okay.
email.
Got it.
So,
thank you.
yes, and also there was another one. Mert said he was really sorry, but he couldn't join, and he will watch our recording. So, hi Mert, we are here, and we will send you the recording really soon, as we can. Okay, so hi everyone. I'm going to start. It's already 5:05. We have 14 participants. We are super excited to present this exhibition. It's called Hybrid Science and Experimentation, and we have here the pleasure to have Felicita. I don't know in which side you see it. I have it there. Felicita and Maciej that can't put the video, but it's here so he can speak and we can hear him pretty well. So I don't want to talk too much because we have less time. There is a lot of things to do. Everyone needs to present, and I can't wait to hear what everybody wants to say about their work. And yes, you can already start presenting if you want, Felicita and Maciej. I don't know which one of you prefer to start talking about your experience doing this exhibition.
Well, okay, maybe Felicita. I'm on the way, so maybe Felicita. Can you?
Yeah, I can start. Yes.
Great.
Okay, so my name is Felicita Russo, and what I do photographically, I experiment with light painting and Polaroids. But in real life, I am a researcher. My subject is atmospheric physics. So I was very happy when they asked me to review the work that was presented for this exhibition, because I think it's very important that science can find a way through art to get to be known to people. I was actually at the beginning when we started writing down the call, we were a little bit scared to not get a lot of works to fill the exposition. And instead, I have to say that I was very, very surprised of seeing so many different works, things that I've never seen in my life. So I was very, very happy that we got such a high participation. Thank you. Maciej, if you want to say something.
Yes. Well, I'm. My name is Maciej Zápior. I'm Polish, but I live in Czech Republic. But I'm still on the way from one point to another point, and this is because I try to mix. Science and art. I'm a professional solar physicist. I work in the astronomical observatory. But I'm involved in solarography, and I like it because it is in the middle between science and art. And we have web page. I see that there is a link to my Instagram, but the main place we put with my colleagues our works is Analema.pl web page. And well, I'm glad that organizers Pablo and Laura asked me to do this exhibition, which is an honor for me. and it was nice challenge because we saw we obtained a few tens of different submissions, and they represent different techniques, different points of view, and well, mainly I'm happy that among submissions there are art made by scientists, and this is for me it is very nice. But also we have artists which works with science, with scientific context and content, and yeah, I'm very happy that I am involved in this exhibition.
Thank you, both of you, and it's an honor for us to have you, and it's great to collaborate these years with you. We met you at both of you at the first edition of the festival, and I see also Pavel also. It's really great that we are still doing these collaborations, and it's super exciting to see the results of this exhibition. I told you, like, the first email after 1 week, because it was crazy when we built the gallery, that it was really amazing. So let's start with the presentation. So I think, Reese, it's going to be your time. I'm going to share the presentation on my screen.
Mm-hmm.
1 second. Oh, okay, let's go back. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yep.
Okay, wait. All right.
Could you start with the second one, actually?
Of course.
Thank you.
Here you go.
Okay, well, thanks very much. Thank you so much for inviting me. I am an astronomer, so with occasional delusions of doing something artistic. I'm actually a radio astronomer, so I work, well, my first postdoc was in Arecibo, which is in Puerto Rico, and that had at that time the world's largest radio telescope, which is this 305-meter diameter spherical telescope, which was built into a sinkhole. You might have seen this in such popular movies as Contact and GoldenEye. Especially in GoldenEye was sadly prophetic, because at the end of that movie, Pierce Brosnan runs up the catwalk at the top of the telescope and defeats the evil villain, but then the telescope explodes and collapses horrendously, which is unfortunately pretty much what happened last November. After about almost 50 years, or slightly more than 50 years of being the largest telescope in the world, it finally gave up the ghost and collapsed completely. But we're still using all of the data from this. This will keep us going for many, many years to come. So radio astronomy, the popular image is, thanks to Jodie Foster in the film Contact, of someone who plugs in a pair of headphones to the telescope and actually listens to their data. That is not at all what happens in real life. In real life, radio astronomy is much more similar to optical astronomy. Although it's using a different wavelength, which in my case is 21 centimeters, it's still recording optical information, essentially, from the sky. So you take an image basically in the same way that you would with any optical facility, but the exact techniques are different. You don't just point and click. You have to do much longer scans, and you survey very, very large areas of the sky. And the information that you record is in some ways very different, but at a very basic level, you're still recording photons of light. It's just that wavelength is much, much longer than the optical wavelengths. So I guess I should probably try and explain more about the images, and I'll try not to dwell too much on the science, because I guess this probably shouldn't be a science talk, but just to give you the very basics, this 21 centimeter wavelength corresponds to the emission that you get from neutral atomic hydrogen gas. So this is the simplest possible substance in the universe. It's just hydrogen. It's one proton orbiting by one electron, and it emits spontaneously radiation at this 21 centimeter wavelength, which we can then detect. Why do we care about this? Well, the gas in galaxies is actually a really good way of trying to understand how they evolve. The gas tends to be more extended than the stars, so it's easier to remove by various processes in different environments. So recording that helps us learn how galaxies evolve, how stars form, and how galaxies eventually die when they run out of the gas which we think is the fuel for star formation. So let me try and say then what we're actually looking at in this image. So the data that we get it's just numbers, essentially. It's not like a photographic film or an image that you get on your CCD camera. You can process this in arbitrary ways to get meaningful, useful information from it. What we actually had on the telescope was a 7-pixel receiver. So your optical instruments these days will have billions of pixels. We had 7. So you can imagine this takes a lot longer to construct an image from than it does with an optical telescope. But we don't just have 7 pixels, because as well as recording the different locations on the sky where we can see where the hydrogen is emitting, we're also recording the exact specific frequency of that emission. So it's like using your conventional radio receiver where you have different frequency channels that you can tune to. We actually record 4,096 channels simultaneously. So we build up these maps which are spatially aren't that large, but when you include that frequency information, the amount of data that you get back is really enormous. So this particular rendering is sort of slightly conventional. This is an image of the galaxy M33, which is the Triangulum galaxy. It's one of the nearest spiral galaxies to us. So what you actually start with is a so-called data queue. So you have essentially a series of images, of 4,096 images, each one of which is at a slightly different frequency. And that corresponds essentially to a slightly different velocity at which the gas is emitting. So wherever you record the gas, that helps you learn about not just how bright the gas is and how dense it is, but also what it's doing kinematically, how it's rotating, how the galaxy is behaving dynamically. So one of the more obvious ways to render this, you could just do a literal series of animated images one by one, and that's sort of the basic bog standard convention, which is nice, but it's kind of boring. So what I've done here is to render that as a 3-dimensional volume. So you're seeing the information not from the full 4,000, but I think from a few hundred velocity channels here all at once. So each voxel essentially gives you the velocity, but also the brightness information. And the color scheme is arbitrary. And then because this was part of actually an animation sequence, so this is what you see in the animation is this image sort of building up pixel by pixel, or column by column of pixels. So here you see this sort of columnar effect here because it hasn't quite finished the rendering process. And I liked this just for purely aesthetic reasons in the image. That's why I chose this as for one of the stills. And actually what I found, so I should probably also say that as well as actually doing the scientific analysis of the data, part of my work is about developing different visualization tools and strategies to try and process this data in different ways so we can actually learn more about it. And I found that as I was doing this, how you render the data really does strongly affect how you interpret it. Because if you can think of it as just a series of images that you get, that's really hard up to build an intuitive mental picture of what that data is like. But when you've got a volume which you can interact with, you can look around from different angles, it becomes quite different. And I was quite interested to see just how big a difference that makes. How when you render it with one technique, you get one impression and you see one set of information. But if you process the same information in a different way, you start to see things in there which you would never have seen in other ways. So having as many different visualization techniques is, I think, to me, it's really important because it's not only useful artistically for making a nice, pretty picture that you can show to the public and say, look, I made this nice picture, this is why you should keep funding me. But it's also important because you can actually genuinely see new things which are otherwise very hard to see when you're looking at the raw numbers. So maybe if we can go to the other image, please. Thank you. Yeah, so this is actually the data that I was using for my PhD thesis, and this is part of the Virgo cluster of galaxies, and this is a rather more complicated rendering. So what you've got with this big reflecting black pool on the right-hand side is one of those single slices of data. each of the ripples that you see is that happens because the pixels have been displaced according to how bright the gas was at that particular point. So you get this wave-like effect, and that's mostly what you're seeing there is just the noise in the data. This is just the stray radiation, the random signals which are emitted because of the instruments and so on. You can't quite see it so clearly here, but where there are galaxies present, you actually get these bright, really prominent spikes occurring. So as you animate this, you see a sort of rippling pool with these sudden spontaneous spikes popping up wherever you detect a galaxy. So to make the galaxies themselves clearer here, what I've done is also render them as isosurfaces, these like semi-transparent columns that you can see in the rest of the image. Each of those is a galaxy, and that is, this isosurface is showing a surface of constant flux level. So they're all shown at the same sort of brightness level, but the width of them, the length of them on the screen is actually basically a measure of how fast those galaxies are rotating. So some are very short, they're not rotating very quickly. Others are much longer, they're rotating at several hundred kilometers per second. I think I'm getting pretty close to using up my time, and I don't want to go over time if I can help it too much. But yeah, so there's about 100 galaxies in this full data cube of the Virgo cluster. You can also see a few bits of noise here in these isosurfaces. But the impression that you get here is so different from if you just render it as a series of images with some bright blobs on. Now you can actually see the full three-dimensional structure of the data all at the same time. And it's so much easier to get an intuitive feel of what the structure of that data is like. But you also see features in these galaxies which you couldn't have detected before. And I actually used that in a recent paper where by plotting it like this, we actually suddenly found actually a lot of these galaxies have little tails because they're actually losing gas. And rendering it as your conventional series of images, we would never, ever have found this. So I hope it's a nice way of presenting to people what the data actually looks like. And just to go back to something Felicita mentioned at the start about science and art being important for communication, whenever I meet someone that asks me what I do and I don't want to talk to them, I tell them I'm an astrophysicist. If I do want to talk to them, I tell them I'm an astronomer. And I guarantee that works every time if you actually do want to carry on a conversation with people. So the art is also, I think, definitely also important for communicating what the data is like and what it's actually like to work with. So yeah, that's all from me. Thank you again so much for giving me the opportunity to be here. Look forward to hearing from everyone else.
Thanks to you, Rhys. It's really great. And yes, I was thinking the same as you just said and Felicita said, and we also were talking about previously with Astrid that it's really great how this type of works help to communicate through art and to show something more about science to get closer to the society. So thank you so much. Let's see, the next one, it's Eleonora's.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. It's a big opportunity for me, and I would like to give again my thank you to all of you. Really, it's a big opportunity. Also, the online exhibition is amazing. Being here with all these beautiful people working in science really deeply, it's amazing. So thank you so much for this connection. This is beautiful. And so let's start. I would like to, first of all, to introduce myself. I'm Eleonora De Martin, and I come from a small town in the northeast of Italy, near Venice. And I work as a photographer and graphic designer for an Italian company in the field of fashion design. And in the meantime, I experiment with photography for my personal project in digital, but also in analog film, and in these latest years, also with the instant photography with the old vintage cameras. And back to our project that I propose in this exhibition. It is called Focus Off. It's coming from 2018 project. And I still continue to shot using this technique. So it's a continued evolution of the project. And I started to use a macro photography and avoid any physical subject on the picture, because I think about the big amount of images that every day we are looking at, and about what we can see and discover daily thanks to the web and smartphone technology. And you know that everything in this world is photographed, well cataloged, and well visually described. So thanks to the high quality and resolution of the technology that we have in our hands. So I was really annoyed about this way of looking at the world. It's really standard, I think. I think we are step by step becoming more lazy in front of the screen, and we are not encouraged to put an interpretation of what we see and watch in different media like the social networks or TV. So that's why I started to avoid everything physical from the subject, and just use the light as a subject, and with no focus. So there is a mistake here to produce this kind of pictures, and because I choose to make no focus, so I changed the quality of details and in the composition. So in this way, by using the phenomenon of light refraction with different lenses, and with many layers of items and support, so it changed every time the kind of refraction of the light, and obtain different visually refraction. So, and the compositions and the colors variation and the shapes depends on the light source that I used, and can be a lamp, can be a bulb, or a window, or a striplet, so many different kind. And every time change the shapes that you see are very different. So every time I can obtain 1,000 of different results, and they are unique, because it's really difficult to replicate the same effect. It is hard also for me, because in that moment, the conditions can change in few minutes and depends on the type of blur that I made. In addition, I do not make any type of editing, so the colors that you can see in the pictures are coming from the light and from the type of items that I use for the refraction. So the final result that I want to communicate through these photos is to involve the viewer. In fact, in every single picture, the viewer can use his own imagination to create a personal result, because there is no subject. So everyone can make an interpretation of the color spectrum to identify something, a subject. So it can be a personal experience or sensation or real object existing. For example, in this picture, in the pink one, I asked to people what they see. And somebody sees a candle, or somebody else sees an organic thing like a blood composition that you can see in a microscope. So this is interesting for me for this kind of communication. So the macrophotography becomes a way, an instrument of vision of the invisible. Without a tangible subject, everyone can make an interpretation of this kind of compositions and shapes. And this is an invitation to be more active and to not be a passive part in front of of photography or art in general. So this is the power that I want to express in my project, and reactivate the curiosity of the viewers and give a new personal interpretation to complete the image in their minds. So I show you the lens that I use, especially the one that I use. Or if you want to show also the other picture, you know, this is a lamp. Yes, in this kind, there is just one light coming from a lamp, a bulb. So the refraction, the many layers of glass change the dimension of the shapes, the colors. So in this case, it's just one lamp. Maybe if you want to see also the other picture in the online exhibition, there will be also a strip LED, so you can see many different spots very near to each other. So this is a strip LED. So every time you can reach a different result. And I use this lens with my camera And this is a Lens Baby Composer, and it is everything is manual. Also inside, I don't know if it is.
Sorry, I stopped sharing the screen, so maybe the people can switch to the camera so they can see you.
Yeah, thank you. This is everything is manual, so inside you can change the dimension of the. Oh my God, I don't remember diaphragm in English. Okay, inside you can change
diaphragm.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And then you can add every time different lenses, so you can reach different macro effects or disturb the image. And so you can put 1, 2, so you can change every time. You can composer, so you can obtain different effects. And also here, I don't know if you know this kind of lens, so you can change here the direction, so it can disturb like a movement inside the composition, can slide something, so you can create something very artistic thing. And this is my favorite one to make this kind of pictures. And that's it. I don't know. This is very simple. It's not like the previous one. It's very. It's very
great. I love your the imagination and all the thoughts that you put behind it. You know, that's the important part.
Yeah, I just want to play with the things and compose with myself something, because every time you can reach something artistic and new. So this is my way to experiment with the science. So thank you so much.
It's great. We love it, and we love also to play with things.
Yeah.
Never stop doing it.
You know, if you don't play and change and make mistake, you cannot reach something new. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your work. I will share again. I don't remember what's the next. Ricardo, maybe you want to share your screen, right? So
yes, I prefer to share my own.
Okay, go. You go.
It's here. Okay, I will try to speak in English, but maybe I need your translating some moments. Sorry for my English. This is the first of my work of the series Melotesia. Usually I worked with science and art. I also worked with scientific image with TAC. You know? Well, sorry, for me it's very difficult.
Don't worry, Ricardo. When I was some word you don't know, just ask us and we can try.
My interest in the scientific image and from the invisible takes to me to write a doctoral thesis about the photography and the knowledge, and the connection, and the conocimiento. And because I am photography, and also I teach photography in the Faculty of Fine Arts. My doctoral thesis, I discovered this author, Etienne Leopold Trouvelot, who worked with electricity in science. I discovered this figure. There are from the del siglo XVII, que las descubrió Lichtenberg. Digo, si puedes traducir a veces. Bueno, la cuestión.
From the 17th century.
Sí, las descubrió Lichtenberg. Es el primero que descubrió estas imágenes.
These images.
But it's a natural phenomenon, and this figure you can see also in the nature, and also in the people que le ha caído un rayo.
Who got struck by a...
The image is very... and I investigate about the possibility to replicate this image, and I found a little text and also this draw. And this is the machine, the original machine who was used for Leopold Trouvelot. And I found one in eBay, incredible, no? To find a machine that did, and this was my first, mis primeros intentos, mis primeras pruebas, pero eran muy pequeñas.
They were small.
Yes, because the machine is not too intense. They don't have too much intensity. And I speak with people who know the electricity, and they me recomendaron.
They recommend
to use this thing, no, the math of one flat field, and then I try. I conseguí esto.
You manage this.
Yes, and also I encontré otro generador, the different generator, and I throw. Bueno.
Nice. Wow.
Bueno, estas imágenes. Estas son las primeras pruebas.
These are the first.
Ricardo, how do you get a recording of an image from the electricity?
Yes, I explain you. One moment.
Sure.
A film.
Okay.
I make metal. And I put the metal, the film. Okay? And I use something like this.
Wow. Amazing.
Oh. A moment. And I put the metal debajo and the electricity inside and the other polo in the other side. And the electricity se dispersa. Y hace formas fractales.
Ricardo, there is a very interesting video that you put
Yes,
on
yes.
YouTube where there is explained, it shows you how it does his images. If you can put the link in the
yes, could be great,
please, because I don't remember where I found it.
Do you have it there, Ricardo? ¿Tienes el video?
Sí, lo tengo aquí.
Okay.
Lo tengo aquí. One moment, I can show. I don't know where it's now. In this moment, we see. It's here. I can share with you in the chat.
Great.
Chatear. This is the link.
Perfect.
Well, the question is, I discovered I can control the shape, and I have the idea that they make the portraits. This idea, she likes me because the fractal in forms, they remember me the nature in all the scale, no? Inside the body, but also in the trees and also in the galaxies. This is the fractal distribution of the galaxy, theoretical, and this is las neurons. And in the same moment, I was writing a text about the relation between photography and alchemy for a book. And I discovered the concept of melothesia, the idea that all the things in the world are connected, the macrocosmos with the microcosmos. And they inspire me, but I don't have money, but I win una beca. With this money, I buy a big generator, Van de Graaff generator, and also film, light film. Incredible, because this film is fabricated in Europe, but I must to import from America. And I buy film 20, this side, but also I have 1 meter for 70 metro por 70 centimeters, and also I have another big one. And I try to experiment this is my laboratory, and this is the idea what I show you, the generator or different kinds of generators, and this is I discovered I need to make a shape to control the forms. The first proof you can see, and the different generators make different effects. This is the same shape but different generator. And I start to make portraits. For the portraits, I make the silhouette, and the additional drawing, or also taking pictures and drawing the silhouette. I make this is my wife, and this is my sister. And also I worked with another ideas. This image inspired me to do the hair. And the image of the como la de Leonardo, ¿no? El Lombard Quadratum. It's inspired in this alchemic grabado, en este grabado alquímico. Está inspirado. Is the representation of the Olomo Melotetes. Is the idea of the macrocosmos, the cosmos, the stars influence to the people. And I put, this is big one, every image is 1 meter from 70 centímetros, metro por 70 centímetros. To do, I need a big, más grandes cubetas.
Yes, I don't know.
Also plastic to transport.
But
you
it's
can
big,
see
yes.
here one. And also this is making the cyanotype. And this is renting the cyanotype.
Wow, it's huge. I didn't imagine it was so big.
So big, no, it's very big. These are the type. And the abstract forms, the geometrical forms, I inspired in la manera de explicar el mundo de los alquimistas, the alchemist people who draw.
The way of explaining life of the alchemist, the alchemist way.
And I want to do some forms like words, mundos, worlds. And the flowers, an homage to Anna Atkins and the cyanotype Britannique. And
Yeah.
sorry, in Spanish, I can't show. I speak better.
You speak really well. I think it's
no, it's terrible. It's awful. Well,
don't worry. Thank you so much.
This is the hand, the idea of hand. Well,
thank you, Ricardo.
Gracias a ti. Perdonad.
Great. I didn't do anything. You speak by yourself, and it was perfect. Everyone.
I have one question, Maciej, here. How do you make these metal silhouettes?
First, there are two systems. One possibility is make a silhouette drawing, projecting with the light la sombra, and I draw. This is for the big one, well, for the middle one. But for the little one, for the light film 24, like this, 20 to 25, I take a picture and I draw after the silhouette. And on this draw, I cut the metal, and also I cut the shape and a material no conductor.
Okay, I get it.
And this is el conjunto. In the middle between this is the film.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ricardo. It's amazing. Great work.
Obvious.
Thank you. So I will share my screen again. So we continue with the presentation. It's really great to see all these projects. I'm like, my mind is blowing. Okay, so Jaime, it's your turn.
Oh, wonderful. You know what? I think I would like to share my screen too,
true.
like Ricardo, and show you a little. They say that 1,000, what is that?
True,
A word is, right? So I promise not to go too long by any means. Okay, so I am, as I'm doing this, please tell me, can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Yes. So I'm a physician. I see patients, and I also have a basic science laboratory. I'm a neuroscientist, and I've been doing art for more than 30 years as I've been doing medicine, but for a long time they were very separate, and with time they started joining, and I realized that what was happening to me during my day was spilling into my art, and it was an inevitable marriage, because sometimes it's very frustrating to see people who are suffering or in pain, and maybe you can't do enough. And I needed to process what was happening in my day job, in my evening activities. But also, I think that I realized that, to me, with all these amazing ways of seeing inside the body, for example, I do endoscopies, and of course we do MRIs, magnetic resonance, and tomographies, and etc. That the inside of our body, to me, is as beautiful as our outside, and it's so complex and so beautiful. And I think that our body is becoming translucent or transparent with what we can see inside. At the same time, I see how that body, how that machinery degrades with time, a little bit like our memories. And I use that as an analogy, or as a metaphor, how our memories degrade over time, and suddenly they change, and we acquire new components, and they morph into something different. And so does our body. And you can see it physically, how it changes with time, with traumas, with different experiences. And I found that through the computers, digital images, sometimes of medical stuff, can be degraded with different algorithms. Like, for example, this was a normal X-ray, and I could see that it degraded and became something very different. Or this, I called this a broken heart, because it's kind of a shattered glass image. And this is kind of how the process started. These are just normal patient X-rays, obviously totally devoid of identifiers, so you have no idea who they are. But in several passages through the computer and degradations, they took on a life of their own. And I thought that this was representative of what is happening to our bodies, to our souls, to our minds. We store memories in our minds, but also in our bodies, as well as traumas and sensations and feelings. And this was kind of an interesting way to explore that and represent it. And, you know, this is what used to be a normal chest X-ray. And somehow the computer did this with a lot of manipulation. I continued to do the layering, and eventually I realized I could do videos with the same technology, as just doing subsequent images and degradations, and using them as a video. I'll let this go on a little bit longer. My son is a musician, so he helped me with the music.
Oh, cool. I can't hear. There is the music?
Oh, I'm sorry you can't hear the music.
No.
I don't know how to do that, but at least you're seeing the video, right?
Sorry?
I'm sorry you can't see them. I'm sorry you can't hear the music. At least you're seeing the video.
Yeah.
And now comes the resolution phase, but I think you kind of have an idea.
Because you need to share. You need to share all the walls if you want to see the music.
Oh, I think that's okay. I don't want to take too much more time, but I then realized that all my images were black and white, and I wanted to add color. There are pseudo coloring apps in the computer, and you can do that. You can also do it manually. So my body images started acquiring color, and the degradation could now be represented into colored shapes as well. And that became more and more complex. And I realized that there was no reason to limit myself to medical images. I could also add external images because, like memories, they become internalized and they become a part of our biology. So this is, for example, called Voyage, but it's an image of the female genitalia, female reproductive tract. This is an X-ray of a child, and it became co-joined twins. They really weren't in nature. I did that myself. And stories start to come out. These are, of course, CT scans and MRIs, resonance imaging, but by combining the images, by adding layers, by combining non-medical images, stories start emerging. And that's when you get this kind of interplay. Sometimes I even let some of the letters from the medical exams just come through. This one's called Underwater, and it's lots of layers of degradation, medical and non-medical imaging. And my background, in addition to this in art, was to paint. So I think you see that I have this natural tendency that it starts looking a little bit like a painting, with the layers and the degradation and the color that I can now add to it. So I couldn't resist but to add one more layer. And now I print them on metal or on acrylic and add layers of resin and paint to this. For example, the left side is the computer generated image, and on the right side is a further manual labor layer with same on this side with translucent resin and with paint. And since I was already working with the resin, and I also worked a little bit with installations and sculptures, then I started making things that I could, I love the translucency. I could add the layers and I could add light. This is an IV bag made out of, intravenous bag made out of resin, but totally solid. It's like a rock. And by doing that, I could add the light and the layers and the photography back to the experiment. And here you see, for example, an IV with the vessels of the head. This brain is not real. It is just part of the imagery. But now there's so many layers. I mean, I constructed the IV with resin. I added the image. I made a new image of the previous images. And this is a bed made out of resin. It's called an ice bed with lots of layers of actual physical resin with images. And what appears to be a bag, this is my image, computer generated, printed on acrylic and surrounded by what looks like a container, a bag, a placenta, membranes of translucent image, and it's called muffled cry. So that's kind of what I do. Helps me get through my day, helps me gather strength and understand what my patients are going through and hope, and give them more hope and strength, and also digest a little bit of what I see as human suffering, disease, degradation, and our footprint in this universe and what that means. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Jaime. I really like it. And actually, I was going to ask you about the bag, because I really like the image, but I didn't put it at first because it was very different from the other two. But then I was going to ask you what happened with this, because it's very different, and it's actually like a real bag. I mean, it's more physical.
It's a sheet. It's a sheet that I made out of the resin. Mm-hmm. Before it totally fixes, it's quite flexible. Mm-hmm. So I put the image and I wrinkled the resin around it to appear like a bag. It's not really a bag. It's resin.
Okay. Super cool. Thank you so much. Everyone is saying amazing work and love the images. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I think I have to share my screen now, but I'm not sure because as we change so much, let's see what we have now. Okay. Yes, no, maybe I don't have to let you share because I have already everything right, Johan?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank
Wow.
you.
Thank you so much. Hello, I'm Joanne. I'm from Singapore, and I am currently a third-year fine art student at LaSalle College of the Arts. And I presented this project called Double Isolation this year as one of my studio projects. And when I first started out, I was just really interested in capturing the ephemerality of the sound. And so Double Isolation essentially captures the early experience of the pandemic in Singapore. It presents a hidden narrative of a group of individuals affected by the movement control order and also the travel ban. And so the photographic work documents the challenges that these individuals have through voice-activated visuals created using the Schilleren photography method. And so this method of image creation was used to capture the participants' voices. And so each of them, they chose one word, one keyword to describe the experience of the pandemic. And the difference in the tone and strength of their voices and the choices of words created unique pressure differentials in the air, which then affected the final forms that are captured by the system. Yeah. And so, I mean, I just want to put it out there that I'm not from a science background, neither am I a photographer. I just happened to come across this project, this system. And so it was interesting because when I was researching on it, we were put on a circuit breaker. So none of the shops were open. Yeah, and there was no contact with each other. And so, yeah, I think maybe we can change to the next slide. I can see the other image. Hi, sorry.
Sure, I'm trying just,
Thank you.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, sorry. So I really had to pull stuff out from my house. Really, I use my daughter's like fever boxes to create a platform and then to really put everything together. And so essentially what Schilleren photography, at least from what I understand, is that it uses the light from a single light source shining on a targeted object. And so variations in the refractive index causes these density gradients in the fluid and distorts the light beam. And these distortions create this spatial variation in the intensity of the light, which can be visualized directly with the shadow graph system. So yeah, so this is the front, this is the camera, and on the left image, I needed a razor, a single LED light source, which I used, yeah, I found at home. And so I rigged it, I put it on a wooden platform, and in the next picture, I had to put, I have to use a parabolic mirror, which converges the optical element to it. And so, yeah, when a person speaks, the flow of the air is distorted, and this distorted beam focus imperfectly, and parts are focused on the knife's edge is blocked. And that as a result, there's darker and lighter patches that would correspond. And to visualize this flow, I actually capture it in a video format, after which I spliced the film.
Do you want me to show it?
Yes, please. Thank you so much.
Yeah, wait. I have it in my screen.
Thank you.
Let's see.
Johan, one question.
Yes.
What kind of light do you use?
I use a small those LED, a very single, one single LED powered by battery, a 9-volt battery. And somehow it manages to work, yeah, when I was experimenting, because there wasn't really much I could buy or source at that point of time when I was creating it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, is that the video? Oh yeah, that's the video. So
Yes.
this is a video capture. I don't know whether you can hear. So this is what I see on the screen by one of the participants. And so he was saying the word separation because it was quite sad. The story was, so he was in China for during break with his girlfriend. That was what, 2 years ago. And he was telling me that after that, he went back to Manila to work. And then his girlfriend went back to Malaysia. And after that, they both never met each other because of the travel ban. And so for him, the word separation was very, very meaningful because, you know, yeah, he hasn't seen her even up to today. So it's been almost 2 years since he last met his girlfriend, and yeah, that was really very sad. And so the video was captured, and then usually I take the video format and then I splice it. I usually pick the peak of the word or the voice, and it pauses just like this at the moment, and then I do a screen capture, and that's how I get my images. But when he speaks, the flow moves, and at least that's how I decide on the type of imagery that is being captured per each individual.
Sorry, Johan. In one photo, there was this light, like the orange light. It was more blue or something like that. Does this change for the tones of the?
Yes, because I print. Okay, so the original capture is in black, but because I print on white paper, so I invert the image. So the orange becomes blue.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
And
So
there's different shades. Yeah, at least when I capture, I think depending on the condition, it's very imperfect because it's not like a professional system. There are professional systems out there, but basically from the setup back in the old pictures, the pictures showed, yeah, it's very elementary. It's quite, yeah. So this blue dot is the flame, and then that's the image and the flow of the voice, at least. So each is different. Like this was the image on the right is actually a screen. So when I saw the entire video, and it was a push to right to the other end, which I thought was very, very beautiful. So this was a 3-second screen by this student that I met in Singapore, and she's from India. So she similarly was during the lockdown, she couldn't go back. So it has been, yeah, almost 2 years since she last saw family. So I think what was interesting for me was that I usually don't ask them for the word that they prepared, but every single word out of the 26 participants were different, but at the same time it was very fitting. And I think it was like how I felt every time they said something, because there were individuals that like some of them come here for work. I haven't seen the children for 2 years. So I think that for me, for this project, was the most touching part, knowing that we are all in it together at this moment, and the kind of support that we have for each other, and at the same time also feeling hoping that things will get better along the way. So yeah, that's my project. So thank you very much.
It's amazing, really interesting. Thank you so much, Johan. It was also super interesting for me to see that you work with the sound of the voice, and it was super, super interesting. Thank you so much for presenting. I think now, Ralph, is your turn. I'm going to show the photos.
Can I also use screen sharing myself? Then I have some bit more control.
Of course, yes, you make my life.
I don't want to insult you guys, but I'm going to use my Instagram as like it was a PowerPoint presentation, as that is my it's my main timeline of things I do. And
it's great. We are Instagram is our work now. We are there. Everyone is there.
Let me see. Yes. Are you able to see anything?
Yes, we can.
So first, I start at the beginning. I'm Ralph. I'm 36-year-old. I live in Eindhoven in the Netherlands. And I have a job as an optical engineer in a company that builds machines. Mostly they're machines for semiconductor production, like to make computer chips, and machines to make OLED screens. That's my day job. And like 10 years ago, I was working for a while, and I got to know that like work is fun. I really like my job, but it doesn't always give you a sense of purpose. And I should do some things that would give me like a purpose on the long term. And I started searching for something in art that I could combine with my job. Because like I work in optics, and optics is a really wonderful area of physics to be in, as we have eyes, and it's like kind of our main way of perceiving the world. And optics is into modulating what you can see with your eyes. I tried lots of things like painting and sculpting and silversmithing, and I tried everything just to touch it once and see. Like I didn't go to art school. Normally I'm in crowds where I'm presenting, everyone's from art school, but now at this event, everyone's in science. So normally I have a lot of story, because I kind of feel like the ugly ducking within the art world, because I don't have an art background. But here I'm like everyone, almost everyone is like that. So it's really nice to see a very different part of the art world, namely the scientists who are working in art. I'm not a scientist, I work in engineering physics, but I still use a lot of stuff, use a lot of physics, use mathematics, and sometimes I see something beautiful and I want to catch it. And my art practice is devoted to catching everything beautiful. And it's fun when it's a bit into my field of physics, because I know my way around, and I have a lot of lens elements and a lot of lasers lying around. That's how I started experimenting. And one of the first things I did, scroll back a bit, like this image. I bought like a laser of AliExpress and took some optics from work and tried to project something on the screen, and then I photographed it with the analog camera. And these are pictures of the projections. And I use some lenses. I use a laser that's like 3 lasers combined into one beam, RGB, so combined it's white light. And with some optical elements, I distort this and let it project shapes. It's quite similar to a presentation, or we saw like 2-3 persons ago. I don't remember the name, I'm sorry, but she was also really cool in catching reflections that happen in lens systems and looking at the elementary spots that form our light. And Eleonora, yes. I go to my folder here. Different folder. I built a system to project something with a laser. That was like the next step in my work. The first step was refractography, what they call like put things, optical things in the laser beam and see what happens, and picture that. The next step was using a laser, also RGB, so 3 lasers, but then with a scanning mechanism in front of it, 2 little mirrors that are driven by galvanometers, like 2 tiny motors that can they can move like this. They don't rotate fully; they just jostle. And here I started, I had like a little piece of software that's like a signal generator, and I put the laser on, and I modulate the signal on the motors that actuate the mirrors, and then you get drawings. This is a part of physics that's like invented in 1850 or something by a guy called Lissajous. And the image you see here, the butterfly it's called a Lissajous. It's like a mathematical foundation. It's two sine waves in two directions at the same ratio, and it always will give this figure 8 shape. There's some coincidence in the mechanics on how my laser work is actually kind of the same as also in a machine that they built also around the 19th century, and it uses pendula, and one pendulum excites the pen and the other one does the paper. And if they have, well, you can put signal on it. The signals are vibrations or pendulum motion. You can make all these shapes. And the funny thing is, you can also put the same signal to like a speaker or two speakers, and you're possible to hear the same signals when the frequency is about in the same, within the correct range. And that's like a very fun connection between music, which is in the end vibrations in the air, and mathematics, this field of what can you draw when you have this really simple setup of pendula. Go back to my so I started working, well, I started making a lot of those cyanotypes. With cyanotype, I can record whatever my laser projects quite quickly. So these in exposures take like 15 minutes or something, and the big ones for an hour. I just put one signal on the laser for an hour, and these drawings come out at large size. I choose cyanotype because it's just the easiest, most elegant process there is. And as a link to Corona, I started doing this when I had to work from home a lot. And working at home due to Corona wasn't really exciting all the time. So I had myself like a nice hobby to do while at home. So I make these, I have this setup in my kitchen, and that's where I make my work. So I've, for the past 2 years, I've been doing these cyanotypes. I have been exploring chaotic oscillators. The most of my cyanotypes are like, they have some structure, but there's also a part of analog signal that is about chaos. And if I image that with the laser and record it on cyanotype, the drawings get like they look like it's smoke or fluid. They look very different than the ones I make from analog signal from a function generator. So I've been just researching like what kind of shapes can I have like limited mathematics that I can use. What shapes can they give me? And I've made like hundreds of these. And sometimes you see something you recognize in it, like this one. I've said, oh, it's a bird. Well, it's not a bird, it's some signal, but indeed it looks like a bird, and I'm quite happy with it. Like my wish would be, what I don't like about my work as like my job is that when I try to explain someone why it's cool what I'm doing like 40 hours a week, they never understand. Normal people don't understand because they don't have an idea of what complex machines are being built in the world. And I wished for some art, that I could generate some art that was beautiful already without the explanation how. So in my work, like how is a big part of the question, because I'm doing some kind of, for some people it's like magic tricks, but it's just engineering physics to me. But I want my drawings, especially the cyanotypes, I just print them on paper and sell them on a web shop. They just have to look pretty. And what is pretty? Yeah, that's what whole art is about. With the cyanotypes, I also added, I like to take pictures just with an analog camera. I started combining just like landmarks around where I live with things that I project with the laser. So the picture is a picture that's made with a contact print in cyanotype. I use a very large tanning bed as a sound source, and then I laser something on it, and then develop it together, and you get these images. And I like the otherworldliness feeling the laser drawing gives me, and it's something I've been exploring. Talking about the chaos, I have a friend who is a musician, or like a composer, and he uses a modular synthesizer. Can you see this video?
Yes, we can see, but we can't hear. I don't know if it's important to hear.
Yeah, well, I turned the sound on. It's my friend is a composer. He generates music on analog electronic instruments together in a modular synthesizer, and I plug it into my laser, and I'm gonna turn the sound on. It's
great.
It's sound. It's not yet music. But this is the signal that's on the laser, and the same signal is on the loudspeaker. So you're hearing and seeing the same signal.
Wow.
And with my friend, I can make these more fluidic drawings in cyanotype. Yeah, so I've done a lot of, I just like to do experiments like double exposure with my refractography setup. So I image something with a laser and we photograph it, and we just layer it over with analog photos. And you have to wait for something that's like, connects, or that it's in the right place. This is like one of the most famous buildings in Eindhoven. A lot of pictures I'm just taking around my hometown, so especially for Eindhoven people, it would be fun.
This is really part of the, also that you are doing work with someone else. Is all of these projects are more or less like shared with someone else, and it's
that's the I didn't want to be an artist. I wanted to have a nice life, and I was thinking of a strategy on how to get a nice life. Like, if you're a soccer player, you can have a nice life, and then you're 30 and then you're done for the rest of your life. But I have the idea that I can very well live for another 50 years, so I better get to do something that's kind of matters for me. And also I do a lot of collaborations, like the stuff with the laser refractography. I don't have enough hands to do it on my own, so I just need I invite a friend who control. I have a few photographer friends, and we get a bottle of wine, and we make some pictures in the evening. And that's like in the evening when we're both home from our jobs. I saw this artist lifestyle like 10 years ago in some people, and it inspired me in a way, like how you can create things with the people around you, not only show them the results, but create it in a kind of social, creative environment that motivates to continue to keep going. And yeah, so this is my art that comes to my web shop is just the result of me enjoying myself in the end. And I like that I get, when I have a pretty picture, I get some attention. It's motivating, but I don't have to pay my mortgage for my art income, so I am actually free to do whatever I want. Yeah, and it just gives me a purpose and some idea of freedom, creative freedom, and it has a very large social aspect. And I enjoy it very much. I hope I can actually do this for another 50 years.
Of course you will. Thank you so much, Ralph. It's really interesting, and I see there is a lot of comments, and Felicita is saying the idea of coupling audio and visual versions of the same signal is really interesting. And Maciej is sharing something about the coupling between sound and image. I will check it later.
Yeah, I will check it. Oh, there is no article.
No.
Well, I have it in my. I don't know.
Yeah, I will click it later. Oh, there's just
because
you will share it with us later, Maciej.
When you click the link, the last colon what do you call it? The closing sign is not copied. So
just one thing, that there is experimental movie from 67 called Wavelength, and that's it. And you can put this in search form, and you will find it. This is Michael Snow movie. And it is like combining image and wavelength, maybe also waves, and it's interesting. But that's the avant-garde movie.
Oh yeah, I will watch it. I haven't seen it before, so thanks.
Thank you so much. So thanks, Ralph. We continue. I think maybe it's Joanna's turn, and she wanted to show from her screen, maybe? I'm not sure.
Yes, I think I could try to share my screen and then share my camera view, but I think you should put it like halfway there.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, when you're going to share the screen to everyone, just put her view, like the view instead of the gallery view, to see the speaker view.
Yeah. Just wait, I'll just set up this.
Okay, we can see it.
Yeah, you can see it. But I just, I shared the, okay, maybe it's not that easy to share.
Do you want me to share my screen?
Yeah, I think,
with your
phone? I don't know, I haven't, or I did like update my computer, the whole system, and I lost like, I don't know, a lot.
Oh no.
Now it says something about the security and privacy. Maybe I just try to.
I see. Okay. If you want, I can share the screen with the two pictures that I selected.
Yeah, just wait like just a second if I just can.
Oh, sure.
She's coming back. I think that we are now. Yeah. Joanna, we lost you, but now you're here again.
We can see your screen now, but we can't hear you.
Yes, now.
Yeah, we can now.
It's like, this is like, yeah, because of the experimental kind of theme here, I thought that I would experiment with this, like how to present live
for next time.
Right?
Good try.
I'm not sure, like I really would like to get like feedback on you, like how does it work, like how is it like, is the picture showing like really blurry or something, or
We can see it perfectly.
yeah, the both views.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I'll just I'm not going to talk that much about, or I didn't like I didn't do like presentation planned, or I didn't plan the presentation very carefully, so I'm sorry about that, and I'm very happy to join this meeting, and that I was able to join because of the hours and everything. But anyway, so yeah, so my name is Johan Rotko, and I'm a visual artist working with living material, mainly with the different species of yeast. And I have been doing this like full time as an kind of like on-off grant artist and visual artist, and for about 8 years now. So the name of the project has long been Living Images. And this year I started working in my research unit at BioArt Lab here in Lahti, Finland. And an Austrian artist collective, Pavilion 35, has developed the Histogram technique. And in December 2013, they held a workshop together with the BioArt Society in Helsinki, in which I participated, and I was inspired by this technique and started to do my own experiments with it. And so in very short, the yeast images are, or as yeastograms, this is a photographic technique in which images are made using different yeast species, different kind of growth mediums, raster images, and UV lights. And in the yeast images, various microbes are going to grow on them. For example, different yeasts, bacteria, molds, fungi, mycelium, and a lot of other unidentified species. And I photographed these diverse changes in the yeast images on a regular basis during their existence. And I have had a privilege to work with several different yeast species, but mainly I have been working with the brewer's yeast and baker's yeasts. So like very kind of easy to get with low costs, I think. That's kind of like main reasons, and I think the results are so interesting that I haven't had the need to go further on those species. And in this winter time, or just like right now, I have been working remotely in this Tokyo Art and Science Research Residency together with the Bio Club Tokyo and Finnish Institute in Japan. And I have been studying mainly different Kochi molds. And I'll show some of the Kochi molds right now. So this is the kind of like dual image of the earlier the live view is now like this was exposed on September, so but they have been on fridge temperatures, so that's why they haven't grown that much mold on them. But I just I show you a couple of them of these. I'll just try to get like a little bit bigger picture of. I think I just. Yes, so. This is interesting. That yeah, you can kind of see now it's very hard for me to sharpen the image, but I think you can.
The zoom is pretty good. Yes.
Yeah, I think you can see the little white dots, and those are like I don't have exactly the close-up image, but it's something like this on the other image now, like these crystal, or I don't know, little rocks or something, or ice cubes.
Yes, they have like a texture.
Johanna, how do you make the colonies grow in the distributions that you want to create the shapes that you want?
So the Kochi is with this image, that's Kochi mold. So that is like warm water and Kochi mixed together, and then it's like 2 milliliters of the mixture on the plate on that petri dish, and then you put the lid with the raster image on top, and then you put them on the radiation sources UV lights. So the UV light kills the or alters the cells.
So the image protects the cells from dying from UV light, and what's not protected by the image dies. I see.
Yeah. And that's kind of very, or you can see it with the yeast, that it can be like really sharp. The image can be very sharp. So, and you can maybe see it like.
And that is an overgrowth of bacteria on top?
Yeah, that's kind of penicillium. I think it's penicillium mold group, or because the green is kind of, that's very normal to have, but that's kind of, that's like the yeast, and then of course the growth medium, they behave very differently with different growth mediums. So with the colorants, I mean, like I have been using, this is lingonberry, so that's like my new study subject, that that how do they behave on lingonberry, but and I think it's kind of the study is kind of something that it's ongoing, because I haven't been doing these that long. I have been studying long with spirulina turmeric and blueberry. And already those are giving me so many different results that I cannot be sure when it's like the outdoor or the whole like temperatures indoors and outdoors, because of course the summertime is like the images behave totally different. Of course, there's like so much more bacteria, or all the microbes are like just thriving on summer months, and of course the temperatures are so much. Now it has been like very, very cold winter time here, so it's been like about like -20 or something. So, and that affects a lot. So that usually it's like slower exposure. So the exposure takes like 2 days. But for example, with these, it took a day or something. I don't know how well can you see those. It did take a day to get that other lady's face on. So these were my latest exposures on. Yeah, they came out on 1st of December, and yeah, I thought that I didn't get any like good images out, but then after again this like a magical day or two, they just they came. And I think that's also like something like of course there's a reason for it, but it is still I think fascinating when the picture forms without the UV radiation or the exposure. But
thank you, Joanna.
Yeah,
this is amazing.
Yeah, I think yeah, I don't have any more. I think I spent my 10 minutes or something. Yeah.
I think it's, yeah, but it's okay if you wanted to add anything, or if anyone has more question, go ahead.
Yeah, that would be great.
I think Jaime already asked what his doubt. Thank you so much for sharing, Joanna, and with so short notice to give us the honor to see your presentation and to know more about your work. It's super good. Thanks so much. I think we are coming to the end of the presentation, and I saw, Pavel, you sent me a video, right?
Moment. Okay.
You want me to share the video for you?
Yeah, yes. I have a short presentation and video, and I can.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Moment. Moment.
Don't worry. It's great to see the work of you two also, Pavel and Ralph. I'm sorry that Guillermo couldn't come. It was one of the special mentioned artists, and he couldn't come, but it's great. So we saw also your work. It's a great opportunity for us.
Okay. It's work, yes. It's visible now?
We can see your screen.
Okay, and I changed the picture, and you see this changing?
No, I see a folder.
Yeah, okay, moment. Moment. Yes, it's very quick. Okay, now maybe it will be. Yeah, now?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, okay. Hello, everybody. My presentation will be very short because my animation is very short. I'm Pavel. I'm the artist at first, maybe. Maybe at first, after many years, I'm the teacher because I teach the photography in Fine Arts Academy in Szczecin. Szczecin is a town very close German border, and my presentation and my work comes from the deep past because this movie was made 20 years ago and is connected with Solaris project. And Solaris project was my project when I was a student of photography in Fine Art of Academy in Poznań. And from this Solaris project starts the story of solarigraphy. And solarigraphy is the kind of okay. Solarigraphy is very famous now, but at the beginning it was the the idea of few people. But solarigraphy is the technique, the method of solarigraphy, of course, comes from the history of photography. It's the only reaction of salt of silver, and I like to think that John Herschel and William Talbot can create the picture like that, and of course the ordinary solarigraphy looks like that. It's the one of first of my recording half-year exposure, and you know maybe many people around the world create the picture like that. It's very interesting that the method is very easy and the picture looks still the same, but in the same time, 20 years ago, I started to record the sky between solstices, and because I wanted to see how this cosmic cycle will looks in different styles, in different way. And now I will show you this short animation. Moment. I stop this presentation. Okay, and I change the screen. Yeah, maybe it's yeah, and okay, it's visible now.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, and that's all. That is all. That's whole story because every day I change the plate in my very primitive camera. It was the camera obscura, and I put the light sensitive paper. It was made with the same method as solarigraphy. It means that I put the black and white paper, and this paper record one day exposure, and I change this plate every day. I had to stay my home for 1 year because I have to. It was not automatic process. I stayed at home before 20 years before coronavirus. Yes, it was the 1 year quarantine. Yeah,
you did it twice.
Yeah, that's all. That's the whole story. After 1 year, I can see this animation. This process is very known for everybody who watch the sky. But for me, it was very important to see what I can imagine. Okay.
It's great to see the animation.
And that's how the story. Now I experiment with handmade cameras. I create the cameras for phosphorescent pigment. I showed during experimental festival in Barcelona 2 years ago. My cameras, which create the disappearing picture, because this picture glowing in the darkness because of light, but the recording appear on the phosphorescent pigment, and that's why it's not this picture can't stay. It's not okay. My English is very weak, but I tried. Okay.
Oh, don't worry, Pavel.
If we have a time, I can show one picture moment.
Yes, I think we can see, and then we, instead of doing small groups, we will just talk all together.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's the camera like this. Yeah, it's my old project, but now I still work with this kind of cameras. It's very primitive cameras, only lens, only the black cube, and I create. It's sometimes I think that these cameras exist only for fun, but for me it's very important. This kind of thinking that I work with the camera which create the picture for nothing. This camera is totally useless because create the picture only for 10 or 15 minutes. Yeah, or sometimes I work on the big huge plates with the phosphorescent pigment, and the idea is the same. I can create the kind of non-camera images which disappear too. And this maybe it's not the same idea, but I work with the anthotype. You know what it is, the pigment of plants, and this pigment can be destroyed by the sun, by the ultraviolet, and I create the series of the picture with the sign, the symbol of the sun, and of course it's this picture still works and change with the light. Yeah.
Of course.
Oh, another work with the phosphorescent pigment, because sometimes I create some short presentation or video show which is reflect or project to the phosphorescent pigment, and the traces of the light create the traces on the phosphorescent pigment, and these traces disappeared for example 10 or 20 minutes. Wow. Yeah, another kind of camera, very strange camera, which is the frame from the movie Photo Story. It's the short story about the light and about the projection of the light. Very primitive camera made from the wood, and the lens which destroyed the camera because of fire. Yeah.
It's because of the heat.
Yeah, because of the heat, and because you know, everybody knows this kind of play with the lens and the sun. Okay, and the last thing, if I remember, during the experimental festival in Barcelona, I tried to make a workshop with this place. If I remember, a group of people with me create the after images in own eyes with the sun. And is the part of this kind of thinking. I'm blinded with the sun, and when I close the eye, I see the after images a very short time, and I try to draw this images, and it's a kind of work, semi-photographic work, of course, because the camera don't exist. Okay.
Cool.
That's all. Thank you.
That was amazing. Oh, what's that? It's Ralph.
Very short movie. That's why I have to create my presentation longer. That's why you have to hear more about my project. It was not connected with the exhibition. Thank you very much.
Great. It was great. Very interesting, yes. And also it was really great when you came the first time and we did the solarography, I remember, on the top of the building. It was with you, right? And
if you remember, because Diego claimed that was because he found the camera in Barcelona. It was the longest exposure, 8 years, if I remember, or 9.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something like that. It was great. So I think we've done with the presentation. It was mind-blowing for me. I don't know for everyone else. Thank you so much. It's incredible. All your works are super interesting, and I have no words. For the other part of the meeting, we were going to make small groups, but I think we don't have enough time, and we are 15, maybe we already know each other, so we are not shy. It made sense when we were like 80 people in the call, so I think it's okay if we can just share some thoughts among us. And I will just say a few questions that we were talking about before with Felicita and that Maciej sent to us. Maciej, are you still there?
Yes, I am. I'm still here.
Okay.
You have to trust.
Yeah, of course.
I'm here.
If you, because you sent like 9 questions, and we were talking with Felicita to ask maybe 3 or 4. So we are running out of time, and I am reading the ones. Wait.
Okay.
I'm going to look for it, and it's just to make some thoughts among us. So one that we think was interesting to ask, it's what do you think that is interesting in science for an artist? I don't know who wants to think about this and say what I think in each one of you your processes can be different. And I don't know what motivates you, or what is the motivation that make you do for art with science.
Maybe to begin, and thinking about what we have seen during this meeting, I think that in science we have a lot of inspiration for art. I mean, we have seen a lot of projects related to light, relating to bodies, relating to nature, also in the online exhibition. So at the end, we have a tendency not to separate, or at least some years ago, now in one box science and in another box an artist. And we can see that at the end, in the science, you can have a lot of inspiration. And that's why today in this call and in this meeting, we have a lot of wonderful artistic scientists or scientific artists, no? But that's really nice to see this mix.
And also you are scientist, Astrid.
Yeah, I'm very happy not to be the only one to be a scientist and a photographer. So thank you, guys. Because I'm a chemist and I'm working as a chemist, so it's so nice not to feel the freaky guy or the freaky girl doing chemistry and photography. So thank you for this inspiration today.
And also, well, it was interesting to to see how can art communicate with society, and maybe all the project that we saw already explained it. I don't know if someone has any thoughts about that. I think like the first project that we saw with Rhys, what more about this, like it was like a kind of a motivation for you, no? Isn't
Yeah,
it?
and I was just thinking then in the discussion, in the past in science, it's very much been the sort of philosophy that if you have enough data, you can just explain anything and it will be explained automatically by having new data. But I think these days that mood has shifted enormously, and that actually the interpretation of the data, that is almost entirely subjective. That really happens in your head. The data does not speak for itself. The data is never the complete picture. There was a nice quote, I forget who said it, but it's the difference between having the facts you think are correct and thinking that those are all the facts there are, and that's very rarely, if ever, the case. And so having not necessarily even different data, but just looking at data in a different way, and similarly slicing statistics in a different way, can give you very different perspectives and very different interpretations on what things actually mean. So to me, this intersection between art and science, it really is actually very important, both from the artistic perspective, but also from the science perspective as well.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Liz. And I see Felicita is doing yes.
Yes, this was one of the questions they always ask me. You're a scientist and you do art. How do you put these two things together? And these actually, in my mind, are the same drive, the drive to create something, to look at things differently. And imagination you have to have imagination to do the scientist, because otherwise you are not a good scientist. Machines cannot do science. People do science because they have something more than machines, that is imagination.
Well,
Yeah, absolutely.
I have such a feeling that sometimes during my scientific work, I'm an artist, yeah, and there is a book. The book. This is for some. Okay, it is called The Art of Scientific Computing. So it is about writing codes in different languages. There are some algorithms, but it is still the art. And yeah, and I think art and science have a similarity. They have common in that both art and science create something. And of course, there is a philosophy that scientists do not create, but they only discover some rules of principles and so on. But you have to be creative to. Yeah, I think it is some kind of creation of ideas, but we can of course discuss.
I do science, neuroscience, and art, and also I see patients. They're all very different, but I learned that one can influence the other and teach you in each of the disciplines. For example, in science, we usually start with a hypothesis or an idea, and you need to figure out which is the best technique available to answer your question. And sometimes it's a series of techniques, right? And you figure out, you don't do science the other way around. You don't say, oh, cool technique, let me use it. You say, what's my question? And then you figure out how to answer it best. I think, at least for me, I think the best art works that way too. You have a good question, you want to explore it, so you figure out the best way to explore your question. And there's a million art techniques and a million different ways to explore your question. But when you have a certain trajectory and you want to say something and you want to explore something, it becomes better art than just something that looks cool because you saw it somewhere. You want to replicate it or you want to do something like that, you know? And then that often makes you jump from one technique to another because you're finding better ways to express what you really want to say. That's the way I feel it, or I see it.
Yes, absolutely. We normally, well, from the festival, we encourage everyone to try maybe different techniques if they don't have already in mind specifically what they want to communicate. It can be a good way to start and see if it can start maybe from the way around, but it totally makes more sense, as you say, like to have first a question and then find a way how to better express it. It makes more sense, of course. Any more thoughts in the room?
I will have a sort of slightly provisional disagreement because in my experience, you can have wonderful hypotheses and you can put in some observing proposal for some telescope time, and what you will get back will almost always be great, but have absolutely nothing to do with the question you asked originally. You will find a wonderful data set, but it will tell you nothing about what you put in your telescope proposal. It's still useful. It's almost always useful. But a lot of the time, the really interesting discoveries are just completely and utterly unexpected.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
So it is similar to this artistic project to explore techniques, to go one step ahead and 2 steps back. Yeah. And yeah, I also see it in my research that I agree with Rhys that it is like this.
Sometimes it is worth just having a look purely for the sake of it to see if you see anything there.
Yeah, but you have to start with something. I think learning how to observe is very important. But if you don't have a question or what you're looking for or what motivates you, then it's just an isolated observation. It has to be followed by more sequentially.
Yeah. No, definitely. You can't really start with absolutely nothing, otherwise you'd never have any clue what to do at all.
And I missed. Do you think that in art it is similar, or it should be similar, or it is totally different? Because well, when we start to think what experimental word means, it is like if I know this word from science, that you assume something and you build your apparatus, you prepare your table to make this experiment. And this is the question to artists mainly, that do you think you can try to do your process in similar way, that you make an experiment to have the idea at the beginning, what do you want to achieve? This is my question.
I think there's different ways of doing it, but certainly if you like, or if you base some of your concepts on conceptual art, and I love conceptual art, which is very difficult to understand, but they definitely started on a concept. When, you know, in its heyday, conceptual artists didn't even have money. They would just write in a little index card their idea. That's what they sold. Sometimes there were exhibits of index cards. So somebody could finance the project if they gave the money, right? I think that's very close to science. It is like hypotheses driven. Others, I think, are just a little bit more empiric. But if you see somebody even way back like Picasso used a million different techniques, but I think that inspiration down deep, what drove him was always consistent, right? It was his relationship with women, his relationship with other people. He was a very loving and very aggressive person. He would make the same woman very lovingly in his art, or like a monster. And he used a million different techniques. He did sculpture, and he did painting, and he did photography. I mean, pottery. He did everything. But the concept was there underlying everything, I think.
If there is no more thoughts, I can go to the next question. What does to do an experiment mean in science and art? To do an experiment, what does mean? In science or in art? I mean, I don't know if in this question, Maciej, you mean it's a different thing to do an experiment in science or to do an experiment in art? I don't know if it's exactly the question.
Well, I think I've just asked because it was not literally the question, but I wanted to compare if this word experiment or to experiment, to make an experiment, how it is similar or different in art and science. And I think there was they've it is already answered.
Yes, I think after all these presentations.
I would say maybe that one common point will be that in both cases, we can do mistakes. I mean, you want to achieve something, but you never know if you will achieve it or not. And we were commenting it. And the great thing in art, I suppose, but maybe also, as Rhys was saying, you know, in science, is that mistake is part of a process. So you can have wonderful things coming from mistakes. And it's a common point between art and science. But I think that it's also something that we defend, no, from the festival, is learning about your mistakes and seeing the great things in your mistake. And it's the result of an experiment. And it's something very interesting and fruitful also for both for sciences and art.
Thank you, Astrid. We all agree, I think.
I can add something because it's true that the experimental way in photography or in art is the process for me, of course, because I'm talking about my thinking, and now I think that that the way, the process sometimes is the more important thing of this situation. Not the moment when you finish your work and you reach the goals and you start to understand what you do. And the moment when you don't understand, and for me it is the best moment, and the mistakes sometimes is the best part of this process. Yeah, I agree with Astrid, of course. That's why I want to say something. Thank you.
Thank you, Pavel. This is great. Okay, so I don't know, there was 2 questions that I thought we were not going to ask, but as we still have time and I am bad, I want to ask you this. What is the future of art and what is the future of science? And what is the future of experimental photography? Like the bomb. And if there is someone that doesn't show the video that want to talk, is also welcome to open it's an open mic. This one is difficult. Felicita, don't laugh. I know you have the answer. I don't know, we always ask to ourselves, like the future, we are looking for the future of photography. So we are of experimenting. Experimenting gives us like the hope to find something or to see what it's, to go beyond the limit of photography. So that's why we are also obsessed with this word, with the future word. If anyone has any thoughts.
I'm going to venture a very short answer, which I think it's entirely individual. So personally, for me, I quite like rendering the astronomical images as landscapes with the height field displaced by the data, and that's kind of nice. So recently I'm trying it with virtual reality. So seeing it as a landscape on your monitor is one thing, but actually being able to step and walk around your data in true 3 dimensions, that's something else. So that to me is just really fun. Whether it's artist I don't, or not, I don't know, but it's nice.
Thank you, Reese.
I agree. I don't know, Eva, what will be the future of photography, the future of science, of art, but when I connect to a meeting and I discover new techniques, such as Histogram, for example, or the use of electricity to make pictures, such as Ricardo showed us. So I don't know what will be the future, but I'm really keen to see it and to discover it, because for sure it will be very funny.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be super fun.
Well, I think the experiment is necessary in art and in science to progress, because if you don't experiment, you stay quiet, ¿no? Te quedas quieto, ¿no? No evolucionas.
Yes.
Es que la experimentación es el presente y es el pasado y es el futuro de la ciencia y del arte. I don't know if you understand me.
Yes, sorry. You said it's like the experimentation is the present, the past, and the future of art and science.
Perfect conclusion.
Yes, so now we can go home. we are already home. We can close it.
Well, we have everything in that sentence, because
yes, true.
Yeah, no comments.
Perfect. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. We are going to go to the conclusion, I think.
Yeah. And the raffle.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Astrid. I'm going to forget. Yeah, sorry. There is a raffle that our friends from Foto R3 they have a website with very great products, and they are so nice that they gave us 3 products, no, actually 4, to make a raffle, and we divided in 2 packs. And I'm going to show you now what is going to be the price. Let me see. Okay, I'm going to share the screen. Okay, can you see? Yeah, okay. So
yes, we see.
Okay, sorry. So this is one of the prize is going to be 2 of these films, Nanotomic, and 1 Ilford, and another Ilford 420 millimeters, and this is for 35 millimeters. I don't know if you experiment with also this or not. Maybe it's something new that you can try. And another, the second one, it's a camera. Oh, sorry, I have so many things open here. That is called Stenoflex Mini Labo. Maybe with this you can do. Can you do solarography with this?
Well, I don't know. It has a lens or pinhole. I don't know.
I think it's
pinhole.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it is by principle. It's possible when you put black and white paper inside.
Okay. Great. So those are the things, and I'm going to do. What we are going to do is counting how many of us, and I will just share. We will just take a number, and Astrid is going to count on the list of Zoom which number is each one. I think we don't have any other way to do it better, so I will just count. We are 15, so I will find one. The first one is going to be for the second prize, which are the films. And let me share the screen so you see it's not it's all real. So okay, let me do it. We are 15, right? So we can count from Astrid, which number are me and you?
1 and 2, let's say.
2. So let's count from 3 to 15 and 1 results. Ta-da-da, number 5. Who is number?
Felicita.
Felicita. Congrats.
Wow, thank you very much.
You have films to practice some photography.
I have the cameras, so
camera.
I will use the film.
We can't wait to see your pictures. Great. So the second prize, I have to put the tambours. So again, from number 3 to number 15. Number 8, it's the winner of the camera.
It's Johan.
Johan. Where are you, Johan? Oh, congratulations. We are going to see some landscape of Singapore with the pinhole.
Thank you so much.
Wow, that's great. Okay, so I will write, as I have your emails, and Felicita also, we have your contact. We will ask you then for typing us saying to us your address.
Okay.
Send them. Okay.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank
So that's all. I just wanted to remind you, we have now an open call for artists and for curators of exhibition. It will be open until, I shouldn't say that, but it's going to be open just for the private. It's going to be open until the 10th of January, so don't miss it. And we hope to see your proposals and to see you in Barcelona next year in July. Thank you so much, and bye to everyone. It was great.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.